You know, I always thought living on a ranch would keep us away from neighborhood drama. Boy, was I wrong. What started as my daughter's innocent horseback ride turned into the most satisfying takedown of an HOA Karen I've ever witnessed. And when I say takedown, I mean her entire HOA got dissolved in less than a week. Let me tell you exactly how it happened. So picture this. I own a beautiful 20-acre ranch just outside our town. It's the kind of place where you can actually hear yourself think, where my 12-year-old daughter Emma can run free with her horse, a gentle mare named Daisy. We've been living there for about 5 years now, and I specifically chose this property because it's completely independent. No HOA, no busybody neighbors telling me what color. I can paint my barn. The ranch sits at the end of a winding country road with a newer subdivision called Meadowbrook Estates, built maybe 2 years after we moved in. There's this one cul-de-sac, Willowbrook Circle, that borders the back edge of my property. Technically, the road is shared access, but my land extends well beyond where most people think it does. Emma loves taking Daisy on trail rides around our property. There's this gorgeous old oak tree near the property line, where she likes to stop and let Daisy rest, especially on hot summer days. It's peaceful, it's ours, and honestly, it's one of those perfect father-daughter moments that make all the hard work of ranch life worth it. That's where our story really begins. It was a Saturday afternoon in late June. Emma had been out riding for about an hour when I heard her calling my name from across the property. Not the usual "Dad, come see this cool bird" call, but that panicked, almost crying voice that makes every parent's heart stop. I dropped what I was doing and jogged toward the sound. As I got closer to the oak tree, I could see Emma still mounted on Daisy. But there was a woman I didn't recognize standing maybe 10 feet away, pointing at them and yelling. This woman, and I use that term generously, was maybe mid-50s, wearing what looked like tennis clothes, with that particular haircut that screams, "I demand to speak to your manager." She had her phone pressed to her ear and was gesturing wildly. "Yes, officer, I'm reporting a trespassing incident," she was saying into the phone. "There's a child on a horse in our neighborhood, and this is clearly a violation of our HOA's livestock ordinances." Emma looked terrified. Daisy, bless her heart, was just standing there looking confused about why this stranger was being so loud. Walked up calmly and said, "Excuse me, is there a problem here?" The woman whipped around and looked me up and down like I was something she'd scrape off her shoe. "Are you the parent of this child?" "I am." "And you are?" "I'm Margaret Henderson, president of the Meadowbrook Estates." "HOA. Your daughter is trespassing on HOA, property with an unauthorized animal, and I've already called the police." I had to pause for a second because the sheer audacity was breathtaking. "Ma'am, with all due respect, this is my property. That oak tree where my daughter is resting, that's about 50 feet inside my property line." Margaret's face got that particular shade of red that only comes from being told, "You're wrong," when you're absolutely convinced you're right. "That's impossible. This entire area is part of our community. I have the HOA maps right here on my phone." She started scrolling through her phone, muttering about property lines and ordinances. Meanwhile, Emma was still sitting on Daisy, trying not to cry. "Emma, sweetheart, you're doing nothing wrong," I called out to her. "Stay right where you are." That's when Margaret really lost it. "Don't you dare tell that child to stay. This is private community property, and horses are strictly forbidden per Section 4.7 of our HOA covenant." "Ma'am, I hate to break it to you, but your HOA covenant doesn't apply to my private property. Never has, never will." "We'll see about that when the police get here," she snapped. And honestly, I was looking forward to it. About 10 minutes later, 2 patrol cars pulled up to the cul-de-sac. I walked over to meet them, leaving Emma with Daisy under the oak tree. The officers were professional, but clearly trying to figure out what they'd been called to handle. "Sir, we got a call about a trespassing situation?" Officer Martinez asked. "There's no trespassing, officer. My daughter is on our property with our horse." Margaret immediately jumped in. "That's not true. This entire area is part of our HOA community. I have documentation." Officer Martinez looked between us. "Do you have property documentation, sir?" "Absolutely. It's back at the house, but I can call my property attorney right now if needed. Margaret was practically vibrating with indignation. This is ridiculous. Officers, that tree line is clearly inside our community boundaries. That's when Officer Martinez's partner, Officer Johnson, spoke up. Ma'am, can I see those HOA maps you mentioned? Margaret eagerly pulled up her phone and showed them some kind of digital map. Officer Johnson studied it for a moment, then looked around at the actual landscape. Sir, he said to me, would you mind showing us your property deed? We'd like to get this sorted out quickly. Of course, Emma, I called out. Stay put, honey. I'll be right back. I jogged back to the house and grabbed our property deed from the filing cabinet. These are the moments when you're grateful for being organized. I also grabbed the survey map we'd had done when we bought the place, just to be thorough. When I got back, I handed the documents to Officer Martinez. He looked them over, then asked Officer Johnson to take a look. Ma'am, Officer Martinez said to Margaret, according to this deed, Mr. Thompson owns approximately 20 acres here, and his property line extends well beyond that oak tree. Margaret's face went white, then red, then white again. That can't be right. Our HOA has been managing this entire area for 2 years. Officer Johnson was studying the survey map with a frown. Sir, this survey shows some interesting details. It looks like your property actually extends under part of that cul-de-sac road itself. I nodded. That's correct. It's an old easement situation. The county has road access rights, but we technically own the land underneath. That's when things got really interesting. Officer Johnson got on his radio. Dispatch, can you patch me through to county planning? We've got a potential HOA boundary issue that might need immediate attention. Margaret was starting to look less confident. I'm sure this is just a paperwork mix-up. Our HOA attorney reviewed all the boundaries when we incorporated. When exactly did your HOA incorporate? Officer Martinez asked. About 2 years ago. The officers exchanged a look. Officer Johnson was still on the radio, and I could hear pieces of his conversation with county planning. Yeah, no legal filing for boundary expansion. Okay, can you send someone out here? He hung up and turned to us. Folks, we've got a county planning inspector about 3 minutes away. He's going to come take a look at this situation. Margaret was now visibly nervous. I'm sure we can resolve this without involving county planning. Perhaps Mr. Thompson and I can work out some kind of arrangement. Ma'am, I said, the arrangement is simple. This is my property. It's always been my property. Your HOA doesn't have any authority here. 3 minutes later, exactly as promised, a county truck pulled up. Out stepped a guy in his 40s, wearing a county planning department shirt and carrying a tablet and some kind of measuring device. I'm Inspector Davis, he said. Got a call about an HOA boundary dispute? Officer Martinez filled him in quickly. Inspector Davis looked at my deed, looked at Margaret's phone, and then started walking around the area with his measuring device. After about 5 minutes, he came back shaking his head. Ma'am, he said to Margaret, your HOA has a serious problem. According to your incorporation documents on file with the county, your community boundaries are clearly defined. But according to what you've been enforcing, you've been claiming authority over land you don't own. Margaret's voice was getting higher. But our attorney said, your attorney was wrong. In fact, looking at this survey, your HOA has been operating outside its legal boundaries for its entire existence. Inspector Davis turned to the officers. This is going to require a formal investigation. It looks like this HOA has been issuing violations and collecting fines for areas outside their jurisdiction. What does that mean? Officer Martinez asked. It means their entire operation might be legally invalid. Margaret went dead silent. Inspector Davis continued. I'm going to need to file an immediate report with the county attorney's office. Any fines, violations, or restrictions this HOA has issued for properties outside their actual boundaries are going to be reviewed. How many properties are we talking about? Officer Johnson asked. Inspector Davis was scrolling through his tablet. Based on what I'm seeing here, potentially dozens. This is big. And that's when Margaret made her biggest mistake of the day. This is ridiculous, she shouted. I don't care what your little county maps say. I've been managing this community for 2 years and I know every inch of it. That man's daughter was riding a horse in our neighborhood, and I want her banned. Inspector Davis stopped scrolling and looked at her. Ma'am, you just admitted to knowingly enforcing HOA rules on property you don't own. I'm going to need to recommend that the county attorney fast-track this investigation. The color drained from Margaret's face. That's not what I meant. Is there anything else your HOA has been managing outside your actual boundaries? Inspector Davis asked. Margaret looked like a deer in headlights. You could practically see her mental list of every fine, every violation notice, every demand they'd made over the past 2 years. Officer. Martinez closed his notebook. Mr. Thompson, your daughter is free to ride her horse anywhere on your property. Ma'am, you might want to contact your HOA attorney. After everyone left, I walked over to Emma, who was still patiently sitting on Daisy under the oak tree. Dad, am I in trouble? She asked. Not even a little bit, sweetheart. You did nothing wrong. What about that angry lady? Well, she might be in a little bit of trouble. That was Saturday. By Tuesday, my phone was ringing off the hook. Turns out, once the county attorney's office started digging, they found that Meadowbrook Estates HOA had been operating like a small dictatorship for 2 years. They'd been issuing fines to homeowners who weren't even technically in their HOA. They'd been blocking utility, access on easements they didn't control. They'd even been collecting special assessments from people whose properties were partially outside the actual HOA boundaries. The county moved fast. By Thursday, every fine and violation issued by the HOA was suspended pending review. By Friday, the state attorney general's office had opened an investigation into potential fraud. And Margaret? She called me on Saturday morning, exactly 1 week after the incident. Mr. Thompson, she said, and her voice was completely different from the screaming woman I'd met. I need to apologize, okay? The county attorney has informed our board that the HOA is being dissolved. All of our enforcement actions are being reversed, and there might be legal consequences. I see. I was wondering if you might be willing to not pursue any legal action against me personally. Margaret, I was never pursuing legal action against you. You called the cops on my daughter on my own property. The legal system handled the rest. There was a long pause. Would you be willing to accept a formal apology? I would, but you should probably apologize to Emma too. The next day, Margaret showed up at our front door with a handwritten apology letter for Emma and a gift card to the local tack shop. Emma, being the kind-hearted kid she is, accepted the apology gracefully and even thanked Margaret for the gift card. 2 weeks later, I saw a for sale sign in Margaret's front yard. The aftermath was pretty incredible. It turned out that Meadowbrook Estates wasn't the only HOA in the county with boundary issues. The Attorney General's investigation led to reviews of 12 other HOAs, and 3 more were dissolved for similar problems. The local newspaper ran a series of articles about HOA overreach that won some kind of state journalism award. Emma got interviewed for the final article, and she told the reporter, I just wanted to ride my horse. I didn't know grown-ups could get so mad about trees. But here's the part that really makes me smile. Emma still rides. Daisy passed that oak tree every weekend. Sometimes kids from the old Meadowbrook Estates neighborhood come over to ask if they can pet her. Emma always says yes, and she started giving little riding lessons in our back pasture. The cul-de-sac is quieter now. Most of the original board members moved away after the HOA dissolved. The new residents are friendly, normal people who wave when they see Emma riding by. And Margaret's house? It sold to a young couple with 2 kids who asked me if Emma would teach their daughter how to ride. Sometimes I think about what would have happened if Margaret had just been nice that day. If she'd walked over and said, "Hi, I'm your neighbor," instead of immediately calling the police. Emma would have been happy to tell her all about Daisy. Maybe even let her pet the horse. But then again, maybe it's better this way. 12 HOAs were brought back into legal compliance. Dozens of homeowners got their illegal fines reversed. And a bunch of power-hungry board members learned that you can't just make up rules for other people's property. As for Emma, she learned something too. She learned that sometimes standing up for what's right means just staying exactly where you belong, even when someone's yelling at you to move. Every time we ride past that oak tree now, Emma stops for a minute and pats Daisy's neck. "This is where it all started, isn't it, Dad?" she always says. "Yep. This is where we learned that some people try to control what they don't understand. But we understood, didn't we?" "We sure did, sweetheart. We sure did." And then we ride home, across our beautiful 20 acres, free and clear.